What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Yeah, looking in my pajamas right now, but that's alright. We're gonna do this video in some pajamas, so let's go ahead and get started with our daily challenges. Gonna kick it off with Wordle, of course, so let's go ahead and hit play. I'm gonna begin with chart, our go-to starting word. Look, it's not terrible. We have the H, so we'll take it. We'll take that and go with shine, because I think shine will be a very great second word to go for. So let's go with that. Oh, I got excited for a second. Okay. We have SHI something something. Low key, I've been thinking for quite a bit of time, and nothing immediately obvious is coming up to mind. The only good guess I can think of is ships, to check if we have another S at the very end. It's probably not the word, but I literally couldn't figure out what the word is just based off this. I was gonna go for shiny, but obviously, well, the end's not there, which is great. Yeah, like, I was trying different combinations of words, and it just didn't, nothing was popping up to mind. Shield isn't, that's not a word, yeah. Like, I was thinking shift, but then the T is not at the end, which is fantastic. Let's go with ships. I don't think there's two S's in here, and I really don't think this is the word, but let's just send it through. Okay, that's a little bit irritating. This is bad, because we need to have this as our starting combination for the remainder of our three guesses. Yeah, because we cannot use other, we cannot, like, send through a word which does not contain our three green letters already, if that makes sense. So we must have SHI as the first three letters, which is not great. The other thing is we don't have another S, which I guess is to be expected. And we don't have a P, which is great. So shilk is not a word, is it? It's not a word. This makes things... Shill is not a word. I don't think it's... Oh, that was very lucky. That was very lucky. Shill is a word. Okay. We shall look that up in just a sec. But we are on a current streak of 7, which is pretty good. Sea of Greens. Fantastic. We have times 6 of that now, which is, yeah, pretty good. And our guest distribution is looking okay. Yeah, shill? That's a word? Well, I'm looking that up. Right, so a shill is a person who is secretly paid or has an undisclosed relationship with an organization to publicly promote a product, person, or service. Okay. They often pretend to be an impartial, enthusiastic, or satisfied customer to trick others into buying or participating. I can see that. Okay. I actually did not know about this word. Is that concerning? Interesting. Alright. Wow. A shill is a person. Wow. It can also be used as a verb. You will often hear it used as a verb, as in, he is shilling for a new cryptocurrency. Fair enough. Okay, that, was a bit of a wild Wordle. I am going to be completely honest. Alright, and we're jumping straight into today's Geo Hunter Daily Challenge. We have some pretty interesting categories, and we are going to kick it off with Australia. Now, with Australia, horses could be up there, I can't lie. We have quite a few horses in Australia, but what's looking very appealing to me is seafood consumption. Aussies, we love our seafood, I can't lie. Although, there are some other pretty good picks up here. So we have Press Freedom Index High. I think Australia is pretty good for journalism. I'm going to be honest. And then copper production might be up there. I'm not entirely sure, but I think, you know, Australia is pretty rich with natural minerals and resources. So copper production being up there, well, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, horses I think could be up there though. But, yeah, let's go with seafood consumption. I reckon, if anything, the countries later on in this list might be good for the other categories that we mentioned, but not good for seafood consumption. Like, there's probably very few countries which are pretty good for seafood consumption. So therefore, let's go with seafood consumption for Australia. It was number 58? Are we serious? Nah, that's gotta be incorrect. Nah, Australia's seafood consumption is much higher than that, surely. Okay, alright. Norway. Probably it's either highest elevation or press freedom index high. I'm tempted with a press freedom index high for Norway. I don't think it's horses. It's probably not low. It's not low clean water access. Protected land percentage. I don't think so. Let's go with press freedom index high. At least English percentage I don't think is terrible in Norway. And copper production I imagine should be pretty decent. So let's go with press freedom index high. Oh, it was number 1. Boom! Let's go. Luxembourg. Okay. I'm tempted with a least English percentage for Luxembourg. They have German and French as the official language, I'm pretty sure. And maybe a bit of Dutch. English I don't know about, though. I'm pretty sure English is not... It's probably, like, not very, very rare in Luxembourg, but it's not common, right? So, I have my eyes on that. Copper production? Nah. Protected land percentage. Percentage, maybe? Most protected land. So is that... Okay, is that area then? Like total area or percentage area? Percentage of area. I'm gonna assume it's percentage of area. Low clean water access? Nah. Highest elevation? Nah. Horses? Nah, I don't think so. Let's go with least English percentage. Actually, now that I think of it, maybe we should go for something else. Luxembourg? Let's go with protected land percentage. Yeah? Yeah. Let's go with that. It was number 2! Whoa! Okay, good idea that we pivoted from least English percentage. Now we get Angola. Angola, ooh, low clean water access might be up there. Although it's kind of right next to the ocean, isn't it? Towards the west side of Angola. It's literally just, like, coastline. It's probably not highest elevation, it's probably not horses. Don't think it's least English percentage, although they do speak Portuguese in Angola, I'm pretty sure. You know what, it might be up there. Copper production, nah. I dig a low clean water access. Although for least English percentage, it genuinely might not be a bad shout. Let's go with least English percentage, because they speak Portuguese in Angola. Yeah, let's... Low clean water access. Okay, maybe we pivot to low clean water access because there's probably... The countries later on, I think they're probably more suitable for least English percentage. There's, like, better countries for that category, but with Angola, I think, objectively speaking, low clean water access is a good pick for Angola. It could be horses, but nah, let's go with this. Yeah, it was number 6. Okay, we'll take that. Peru. Okay. For Peru, we're gonna go with least English percentage might be a good shout. Copper production, I feel like, might be a good shout for Peru. Highest elevation, I mean, it can get slightly mountainous in Peru, but nah, I don't think so. Horses, I don't think so either. It's between least English percentage and copper production. I'm tempted with a copper production. Although, least English percentage is quite appealing. Let's bite the bullet and go with copper production. Yeah. It was number 4! Bang! Bang! Okay, we're doing good. I think Australia would have been really good for horses. We kind of, screwed that over a little bit. Chad. I don't think it's least English percentage. What do they speak in Chad? I think they speak Arabic, actually. Ooh, maybe we go for least English percentage. It's not horses and it's not highest elevation. Otherwise, we are down to a skip. It's over to a skip otherwise. So maybe we skip Chad and hope that we get better countries later on. Yeah? Or do we go for least English percentage? I feel like there's a better country for least English percentage. I don't know why. Chad, I mean, yeah, I think they speak Arabic, but surely their English-speaking people isn't that low. It's bordering countries such as Nigeria, right? And they speak... Wait, does Chad border Nigeria? I think so. Then again, okay, maybe we go for least English percentage. I feel like a country like Chad for least English percentage isn't terrible, so let's go for that. No, we should have used our skipped. Ah, we threw. For Senegal, let's go horses. It's not highest elevation. Or maybe we use our, okay, we'll use our skip for Senegal. I don't think horses is a good pick for Senegal, so let's use our skip. Yeah. And then we could okay, yeah. China would have been fantastic for least English percentage. I was genuinely thinking that China would appear on this. But it's actually not the end of the world, because we can go for highest elevation for China. And that's not terrible. Yeah, it was number 2. See? That's actually not that bad. And then Sierra Leone for horses, well, it's going to be 21. Yeah! Yeah, that's, wasn't too bad. Chad for least English percentage, that cooked us a little bit. Looking at our picks, apparently only 3 of them were the perfect picks, which is a little bit interesting. The target was 95. We went 99 over that. Over double the target, which is not ideal. So we end up with 194. Not great. And let's take a look at the perfect solution. Yeah, Australia. It was for copper production. We did call that out, didn't we? For Norway, it was press freedom index high, which we nailed that. We nailed Luxembourg as well for protected land percentage, although I think we got a little bit lucky. Angola for low clean water access. That was the best pick for that. Okay, that's good. Peru for highest elevation. Yeah. Peru does get quite mountainous, and I'm not surprised that highest elevation was a good pick for Peru. Yeah. Chad for horses. Really? Okay, fair enough. China for least English percentage, yeah, it's number 2. And then Sierra Leone for seafood consumption is number 53. Okay, fair enough, I suppose. So what was the country that we were meant to skip? Angola? Was it? No. What was it? What was the country that we were meant to skip? Wait a second. Oh, Senegal. Senegal was the country that we were meant to skip, and we did skip Senegal. So we just got the countries in the wrong order. Ooh, I see. Okay. Fair enough. We didn't do too terribly then, in that case. If we used our skip on the correct country, then we played our cards pretty good, I would say. Except, obviously, shuffled in an incorrect order. But yeah, look, today's Geo Hunter challenge was pretty, like, we were cooking, I think, for some of these. 1, 2, 6, 4, 2, 21 isn't even that bad. We were cooking, I would say, so I'm pretty happy. Okay, you know what time it is? It's time for Global, so let's jump into it. We're gonna kick it off with Italy, our go-to starting country. 3,780 kilometers. Interesting. So, I'm pretty sure, I already forgot that yesterday was, where was yesterday again? The day before yesterday was Cameroon. Yesterday's was, I forgot. No, it was Djibouti. Yesterday's was Djibouti. That was around 3,800 kilometers away. So, in that case, do we go for a country that is roughly the same distance from Italy, such as Yemen, you know? I think Yemen was our second guess yesterday. It could be the mystery country, you know? Let's go with Yemen. Whoa, Yemen is cooler. Okay. It's quite a light blue color as well. Italy is, like, only marginally warmer, though. So, I think, in this case, we could pivot to west coast of Africa right here, where I think Liberia might be a pretty good shout. Otherwise, we go up towards here, and actually no, I think it's better if we go down here, because if we go here, Kazakhstan is probably the only shout that we have for a country towards Central Asia. Russia's too close to Italy, of course. Russia, its kind of closest border is, well, it would actually be Kaliningrad, which is way less than 3,780 kilometers away from Italy. Kazakhstan, I think, is too close for 3,780 kilometers away from Italy. And then any country to the south of Kazakhstan, it would be much closer to Yemen, and in that case, well, it contradicts Yemen's cooler color compared to Italy. So we pivot over towards West Africa. Now, here's the issue. West Africa gets a little bit technical. There's quite a few countries here, so we might be guessing for a little bit of time. But I'm tempted with a Liberia. Liberia gives us a good benchmark to compare to. I think it's a pretty good shout for a second guess, or a third guess, so let's go for it. It's adjacent to the answer. Okay. In this case, we shall go for Sierra Leone. I think that's a pretty good guess for a fourth guess. If it's not Sierra Leone, then we just continue on, because, well, I don't really have much information to work with here. Italy, it's really difficult to estimate 3,780 kilometers. Let's go with Sierra Leone. Okay, we take that. I'm pretty happy with that. Look, okay, average guesses of 3.88. It's climbing ever so slightly higher, which is not great. But look at this. We start off with Italy. We made a bit of a gamble and went to Yemen. It didn't work out so well. It gave us, well, not much of an extra clue. But then we pivoted over to Liberia. I would say that we got a little bit unlucky. Like, Sierra Leone and Liberia, they look almost equidistant to Italy. Yeah, but look, getting Sierra Leone as our next guess after that, it's pretty good, I would say. It's just really difficult to, especially with Liberia. Liberia borders, I think, at least 3 countries, including Sierra Leone, so we could have been guessing for, like, another 2 guesses, and in that case, our worst case, we would have gotten the mystery country in 6 guesses. But we only needed another extra guess after getting Liberia, which is pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, today's Global, yeah, it could have been better, but with what we had to work with, we did pretty well. Okay, and we're going to finish it off with today's GeoGrid. We have a pretty interesting grid, I would say. Fewer than 10 Olympic medals. Olympic medals coming back to give us some PTSD after the grid a few days ago. Area greater than 100,000 square kilometers. I think we had that. Oh no, it was 2 million square kilometers yesterday, wasn't it? Okay. Same-sex marriage legalized. Okay. Human Development Index, HDI, over 0.9. Over 0.9 is quite high. Capital is not the most populated city. Alright. And then in the Southern Hemisphere. Okay. Fewer than 10 Olympic medals is a pretty difficult category, I would say. HDI over 0.9. Let's go with Luxembourg. It's a pretty common country that people would guess. Or maybe we'll go with Liechtenstein. I think Liechtenstein is a pretty good guess. Comparing to Luxembourg, I think Luxembourg's a very common country that people would pick. Liechtenstein, on the other hand, maybe a bit rarer. So, I'm pretty sure that their HDI is over 0.9, by the way. If it's not, then that's a bit of shambles, but it's okay. We're going to go with Liechtenstein. It has more than 10 Olympic medals? Really? Okay. In that case, we move on. We won't fill in the square just yet. Area greater than 100 square kilometers and HDI over 0.9. There's a lot of countries out there. I think I want to go for... Let's go for Japan. I think Japan's a pretty good pick for this square, surely they have an area greater than 100,000 square kilometers. Like, surely, come on. 100 times 1,000 kilometers. Japan is, yeah, let's just send it through, come on. Okay, it's a pretty good guess. 4.8% rarity, which is pretty good. Okay, here we go. Same-sex marriage legalized, and then HDI over 0.9. Now, there's a few countries that come up into mind. Australia's one of them, I'm pretty sure. If Australia's not one of them, then I'm gonna look pretty silly. Yeah, I mean, I think New Zealand would also work. Let's go with New Zealand. I think New Zealand's a country that's not going to be guessed very often. Same-sex marriage legalized. Yeah? Yeah. Let's go with New Zealand. Whoa, 3.5%. That's a pretty good guess. Okay. Capital is not the most populated city. Fewer than 10 Olympic medals. That is, that's not easy. Capital is not the most populated city. That is a pretty difficult category, I would say. Yeah, okay, I feel like we should skip the Olympic medals countries. I'm not really good with my Olympic medals countries, or like number of Olympic medals countries. I'm not good with that. So let's go ahead and jump straight onto the next square. Keep in mind, we're on the edge right now. 7 remaining guesses. We have 7 remaining squares, so on the back foot right now. Area greater than 100,000 square kilometers, and capital is not the most populated city. Obviously, Australia, it would be valid. I'm thinking, what about countries which have multiple capital cities? Okay, well, there you go. Australia is a clear example of a country which has its most populated city not as its capital. Okay, note on countries with multiple capitals. For capital is not the most populated country. The category is true only if none of the official capitals are the most populated city. In any of the capitals, if any of the capitals are the most populated city, it is considered false. Wow, so countries such as South Africa and Bolivia, well, yeah, I think they're out. Okay. Alright, what about China? I think China is obviously a good country to go for. It's probably a very common country that people pick, but its capital is Beijing. Shanghai is the most populated city. And then, well, its area is definitely greater than 100,000 square kilometers. So let's go with China. It's a rare country that people, like, guess? Only 5.1%? Okay, fair enough. Really? Alright. Same-sex marriage legalized, and capital is not the most populated city. Australia would be a good pick for this, but I think we can go a little bit better. Let us go... The US could be a good shout, actually. You know what I've realized? Not many people guess the United States of America. For some reason. At least in GeoGrid. At least of what I'm aware of. Let's go with US. I think Australia might be more of a common pick than the US. For some reason. And also, here's the other thing. We can save Australia for one of these categories down here because, well, yeah, in fact, yeah, we should go for Australia here instead. Or actually, maybe that might be... Nah, let's go with Australia for this category because I think we should have gone for New Zealand. New Zealand would have been a better pick for this, but Australia's not a bad pick for this category. And it's probably good for us to pick this square for Australia rather than the square right above it. Because otherwise we're left with pretty limited options for this square, I would say. At least from what I'm aware of. So let's go with that. Yeah, it's 12.2%. It's a pretty common pick. But it's okay. Let's go back to this square. Capital is not the most populated city and same-sex marriage legalized. Let's go for the US. I think we want to get all our squares filled in, right? That's probably priority. So let's go for the US. Yeah, it was a pretty common pick. 13.5%. Yeah, that's fine. Area greater than 100,000 square kilometers and is in the southern hemisphere. Now, there's a lot of countries that we can pick. Obviously, we have... does Brazil count? I think Brazil counts because it's technically in both hemispheres. Yeah, Brazil should count. Then we got Argentina. Chile, I think, should have an area greater than 100,000 square kilometers. Chile is a very long country, by the way. It's not a wide country, but I think its area is still greater than 100,000 square kilometers. Then you got Paraguay. This is, okay, I think Paraguay should have an area greater than 100,000 square kilometers. Maybe. Otherwise, we pivot over to Africa. And in that case, we have South Africa, Botswana, Namibia? Yo! Okay, the African countries, they're probably better picks because people, I don't think would pick them. Let's go with Namibia. Yeah? Yeah! Yeah, let's go with Namibia. Okay, it was a pretty rare guess, although it's actually more common than I thought. Maybe we should have gone for Angola. Alright, fewer than 10 Olympic medals and is in the Southern Hemisphere. That might be a little bit difficult. How about... I'm trying to think, what's a good country to go for? What about Zimbabwe? Yeah, surely they have fewer than 10 Olympic medals, right? Right? Otherwise, we could go for a Burundi. You know what? Burundi might not be a bad shout. Because it's a pretty obscure country. Should we go for that? Zimbabwe, Burundi. Let's go with Burundi. Whoa! Legendary pick. Legendary pick. 1.2% of people guessing that. That is fantastic. Okay, we take that. We take that. Fewer than... Okay, wow. These two squares are going to cause us a lot of issues. I think this one's ever so slightly easier. HDI over 0.9 and fewer than 10 Olympic medals. Okay, how about we go for Luxembourg? Because that's what we were thinking at first. Sure, I mean, surely they have fewer than 10 Olympic medals, right? I know the HDI is definitely over 0.9. The thing is, Liechtenstein had more than 10 Olympic medals. That's really throwing me off. So, I don't know if Luxembourg would have fewer than 10 Olympic medals in that case then. I don't think so, right? I've never seen Luxembourg compete in the Olympics. So, but then Liechtenstein, I've never seen that either. I don't really have any other countries that are coming up to mind, to be honest. So let's just throw Luxembourg at it. So Luxembourg has fewer than 10 Olympic medals, yet Liechtenstein has more than 10. Really? Okay. I'll accept that, I guess. Now here's the worst category. Capital is not the most populated city, and fewer than 10 Olympic medals. That's a tough combination of two categories right here. Whoa, are we serious? I don't even know where to start with this. You know what I'm thinking of? I think the strategy here is just to think of countries where its capital is not the most populated city, and then work our way through which countries might potentially have fewer than 10 Olympic medals. Because I think it's harder to go the other way around. Think of countries which have fewer than 10 Olympic medals, and then matching and seeing if they have capitals with... Because I have no idea which countries have fewer than 10 Olympic medals. Like, I have no clue. So, I think I'm going to cook up a few countries where its capital is not the most populated city and work our way from there. I think that's probably the best strat that we have right now. I really want to get this final square correct. So, yeah. Okay. I've thought for a little bit, and two countries are coming up to mind. The first one is the UAE. I have not really seen the UAE participate in the Olympics, so I think that might be a good shout for this final square. The other option is Vietnam. I don't think I've seen Vietnam get Olympic medals. I haven't heard much news about them getting Olympic medals whenever the Olympics have been happening. And I'm pretty sure Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam. It used to be Ho Chi Minh, but Ho Chi Minh is the most populated city in Vietnam. Since Hanoi is now the capital, that means that Vietnam's capital city is now not the most populated city. And for the UAE, its most populated city, its capital city is Abu Dhabi, but its most populated city is Dubai. I'm tempted with a UAE because, okay, we gotta spell it out. The United Arab Emirates, because because I'm pretty sure Vietnam might have a chance of having more than 10 Olympic medals. I'm pretty sure they... I haven't really heard news about them when it comes to Olympic medal events. But I feel like the UAE, I just haven't heard about them at all for the Olympics. I don't know, I could be like tripping. But also the other thing is, Hanoi might be the most populated. I don't think it is, but I think Hanoi might have a chance of being the most populated city in Vietnam. Let's just go with the UAE. Let's send it through. Whoa, okay. Okay. We got pretty lucky. We got very lucky. We beat 78.2% of players, which is pretty good. Rank 857 out of 3936. Okay, that's alright. Let's view our board insights. So, we're at pretty much the exact tip of this little peak here, which, is okay. Yeah, alright, I'm pretty happy with these two picks. Answer details, let's take a look. The most popular was Monaco. Monaco has fewer than 10 Olympic medals. I see. Canada for this one, fair enough. Same-sex marriage legalized and HDI over 0.9 was Sweden. Alright. Capital is not the most populated city. Belize. I have no idea what Belize's capital city is, I can't lie. Brazil for this one, okay. And then Australia, we picked the most common. Oh no, we picked the US. Oh yeah, see? US is less common than Australia for some reason. Lesotho, Argentina, and New Zealand, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Least popular. Guam appears 4 times. Wow, okay, Guam is... Guam has an HDI... Oh, Guam does have a HDI over 0.9. Fair enough. And, does it even have a capital? Guam doesn't have its own capital, I'm assuming. Otherwise it's Washington, D.C. Yeah, fair enough. I guess that's pretty cheesy, but that's fine. Italy for this one. Okay, I can see that. Philippines, Philippines is a shout for capital is not the most populated city. Yeah, okay, fair enough. And it has an area greater than 100k. Yeah, and then we have France and DRC. Oh, France, it has overseas territories in the Southern Hemisphere. That's quite cheesy. Okay, all answers, we had quite a few for this one. Yeah, oh, Vietnam was up there. Okay. Wow, there were actually quite a few countries. Cameroon. Wow, San Marino. Okay, wow, there were definitely a few countries for this square, which is fair enough, and then same with this one. Okay, Singapore. Singapore has fewer than 10 Olympic medals? Really? Okay, fair enough. Let's look at our wrong guess. Liechtenstein had exactly 10 Olympic medals. Really? Really? Alright, fair enough. Otherwise, okay. They had exactly 10 medals on the dot. That is fantastic. Look, we didn't do too terribly. At least we got all of our squares filled up, which is obviously quite an achievement. I think today's GeoGrid was a pretty difficult grid, I can't lie. Anyways, that's where we're going to leave it for today. Hope you guys did enjoy watching today's video. The links to Wordle, Geo Hunter, Globle, and GeoGrid will be down in the description for you to check it out. So definitely check them out. Have a play along. It's a ton of fun. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.